Debating Society. Welcome to a previous speaker of distinction just coming in the back of the hall. Welcome to you, Hugh. Very good to see you. Welcome to all of you, parents, visitors as well. This is our first debate of the school year, and usually, all being well, we shall have two debates this term. The B form, you'll attend both of them. A form, you'll attend only the A debate. Next term, the same, and in the summer, with a bit of luck, we shall have some sort of debate with Alpha speaking to B and C forms. So the last meeting of Port Reed's Debating Society was in here last summer, and it was actually a general election special, because that very day the country voted in the general election, and our two people were quite surprised by some of the results. Not in Port Regis, where the results were what we pretty confidently expected, actually, which was a conservative big majority, unlike the country. But the last time we met and spoke as a debating society in the normal way, some of you were on your feet. We had, for example, Lorcan. I see here again today. We had Harry. We had Annabelle, who was there somewhere. We had Utah. We had Ivor, who's here today. We had Katie, Cecily, who went on for several hours, I seem to recall, and Imogen, who's here again. And we were debating this motion. A motion is a topic for discussion. We debated this house, that's us, that's the people in this building, in the school if you like. This house believes that our parents' lives are easier than ours will be. So it was all about whether or not life will get harder for you. Perhaps there won't be so much money, perhaps there'll be more pollution, perhaps there'll be bigger problems, or maybe things will be better. There is actually a bit of a connection between that debate and the one this evening, I think you'll discover. Well, eventually we voted, and the motion was defeated by 51 votes to 22. And there we go. That means that those who proposed it were unsuccessful. Now we move to today's motion, which is that this House believes that science does more harm than good. You'll hear them talk about all sorts of ways in which science affects our lives, and maybe ways it will affect our lives in the future, when you're getting old and some of us aren't here anymore. And you need to come to a decision, and I hope your decision, when you vote at the end, will be based on two things. It'll be based on the arguments, the points that each side puts forward, but also, because it's a debating society, you'll base your decision on how they debate. How well do they speak? So without wanting to make them too uncomfortable, we're watching to see if they look up at us. Can they meet our eyes? Which is easy for grown-ups who practice, and it's harder for children. And we'll be seeing, can they express themselves clearly without getting lost? If they get lost, we don't mind. We'll forgive them, and we'll wait patiently, because they'll soon find their way. Can they speak clearly? Do we understand what they're saying? Is it maybe a little bit amusing? A bit clever? All those things should come into your reckoning when you cast your vote towards the end. So now they've had plenty of time to get nervous. I'm going to call upon the first person to propose a motion, and that is Mr. Robin Hughes.
Science has given humans weapons that are literally mad, MAD, or mutually assured destruction, is the actual name for the defense strategy on which the Earth's survival rests. The strategy is that if any country with a nuclear bomb attacks another, then it would lead to the end of human life. The theory is that this means no one will declare war, but it only works until one madman decides to attack. Before science gave us these terrible bombs, the human race would have been amused by a podgy lunatic with a haircut that makes him look like a hamster, making threats from the other side of the world. But because of science, he's not remotely funny. He's a very real threat to the whole world or to peace. Before science developed so far, we actually wouldn't have even heard of anything that happened on the other side of the world, let alone have to worry about it. Nuclear bombs are just the worst example, but science has connected every one of us to each other. This brings huge advantages, for sure, but it also brings danger. Like a school or a team, we are only as strong as our weakest link. And the problem is that science means that the chain is now the whole human race. We only need one rotten apple, and we are all at risk. Right now, that rotten apple is Kim Jong-un, but science has created such power and made us all connected that all it takes is one rogue or careless scientist or leader, and the whole planet is in danger. All species are regulated by nature. It's called natural balance. If one overproduces, then the predators grow in number, so the balance remains. All species, that is, except human beings. Thanks to science, the human population has exploded over the last years. So there are more humans alive now than ever before. Science has failed us all over the planet. Overpopulation, exhaustion of the world's resources, spread of toxins and poisons, endangering the survival of our species and animals. This spread in science is so fast we just don't know the effect it will have. Poisoned seas, a hole in the atmosphere, global warming, these are all given to us by the progress by the scientific progress of our parents. Just this week, there was a new discovery that plastic molecules are gathering in our bodies from fossils, so widespread that scientists can't find any humans who haven't been exposed to it. Scientists are now experimenting with gene control to produce humans smarter, stronger, and less prone to disease in the science lab. We're not saying science hasn't done any good. We're just saying that at the moment, science has caused more harm and put us to threat than ever before. Please vote for the motion.
Thank you very much. Now Ms. Anne Searle will oppose the motion.
Can anyone in here imagine a life without science? A world without technology, medicine, and clean living standards? How about a simple day without science? Without everything we know and love? Even if science was a big problem, and we wanted to get rid of it, it'd still be there. We can't do anything about it. We wouldn't even be here if it weren't for science. Science is technically the most important thing in our lives. There are two types of science: natural science and human science. Natural science happens on its own, like volcanoes and earthquakes. Human science is where humans have made it happen, like bombs, explosions, and nuclear missiles. Humans have made it happen, not science. My main point is medicine. And first of all, would all of us even be here if it weren't for modern drugs? Put your hand up if you've ever broken a bone. If you've ever been taken into hospital. So that's almost everyone. Without science, you wouldn't have the medicine to make you better. Did you know that in 2012, 61,740 babies were born through IVF? IVF is where a baby is genetically made. Well, not genetically, just helped to be made. Do you have any idea how many people that's helped be a family? In 2011, men's life expectancy rose 11 years to 76.5. It's still growing now. Women's lives rose from 71.5 to 81, and again, it is still going up. One of the major killers in the US is heart disease, and between 1999 and 2011, the risk of death decreased by 20%. This is due to the inventions of heart medications and the availability of it. There is so much less of a chance of us dying from disease, and our qualities of life is improving. High blood pressure is a serious problem in modern society. 1 out of 3 adults in the US suffer from it. Left untreated, like before blood pressure medications, it could lead to kidney damage, stroke, loss of memory, vision loss, and understanding. High blood pressure pressure plays a part in a disorder known as metabolic syndrome, which includes diabetes. Modern blood pressure drugs have been used for over 50 years, and it enables many people to live happy and healthy lives, reduces risk of stroke, kidney damage, and many other things. Many other modern drugs affect our quality and everyday life, like aspirin and antibiotics. It can have harmful abuse, but again, that's people. There are 5 scientists that have helped save millions of lives. Alan Turing, who cracked the Enigma code in the Second World War. Jonas Salk, who made vaccination compulsory and free for everyone. Edward Jenner, who made a vaccine against smallpox, which was a major killer in the Victorian times. And Sir Ronald Ross, who linked malaria to mosquitoes. Sir Alexander Fleming invented penicillin. So as you can see, without science and without medicine, we would probably, well, let's just say not all of us would be here. Please vote to get information.
To Mr. Hughes. So now it is the turn of Miss Imogen Joel to propose.
Why should you vote for this team? Well, A, it's amazing, and B, because of everything I'm just about to tell you. First, the 4 Vanguard-class submarines form the UK's strategic nuclear deterrent force. A nuclear deterrent means that another country won't attack us because we will just fire a missile right back at them. Each of the 4 boats are armed with Trident II D5 nuclear missiles. The Trident submarine system is so sensitive that they can hear ships over 50 miles away. You might think this is good, but any whale, dolphin or shark which goes into this radius immediately dies. At its fastest, the missiles can travel over 13,000 miles an hour. All of this, you might think is good, but all this money and time spent on these things, if science hadn't created nuclear missiles, none of this would have had to be done. Many of you probably know about cyberbullying. Nearly 43% of children are bullied. 1 in 10 children actually feel brave enough to tell someone about it. That would mean that if all of you in here were bullied, only 9 of you would tell someone about it. 81% of young people think that it's easier to bully someone online than in real life. Because of cyberbullying, victims are 2 to 9 times more likely to consider committing suicide. If phones hadn't been invented, no one would be able to bully someone online. It would also mean that they would develop social skills so that they could actually chat with people outside of phones. Today there was an article in the news saying that you could buy all the supplies you need to build a bomb on Amazon. Those people then find out how to make a bomb online and then endanger other people's lives. All of you know about World War I and World War II. During World War I, there was the use of poison gas and advanced high explosives. During the end of World War II, the US dropped nuclear weapons on the Japanese cities of Hiroshima and Nagasaki. There was also a firebombing campaign which destroyed 67 Japanese cities. The bomb which was dropped on Hiroshima killed 90,000 to 146,000 people. The bomb dropped on Nagasaki killed about 30,000 to 80,000 people. During the following months, large numbers also died due to burns, radiation sickness, and other injuries, along with illness and malnutrition. Without science, those nuclear weapons wouldn't have been created, and that many people wouldn't have died. Maddie talked a bit about genetic engineering. Genetic engineering is when a scientist creates the DNA he wants a human to have. That means he can create a human however he wants them to be. What if the baby turns out to be mentally ill, psychotic, abusive, or non-responsive? Would you murder the baby? What would you do? Genetic engineering is good because you can eliminate physical illness, but it can be very bad and have dangerous effects. Like if they're mentally ill, it could harm someone's life. Because of science, scientists have invented robots. They do have some benefits, but they're mainly a bad idea. They're good because of their cost to run. There are way more disadvantages though. They will take away the jobs of other humans. They cannot handle the unexpected as well as the humans can. They cannot interact with humans because they're not as empathetic and they do not have any emotions. Some of you will remember in one of the last debates, Ivan was talking about robots. I don't really understand when he's on the other team, saying as he was saying that because of robots, which was created by science, the world is doomed. So, let's recap. Why should you vote for this team? A, it's amazing, and B, because science has harmed so many people's lives.
Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. There's a challenge there for guess who? Let's start. Ida Thorpe.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Today I will be explaining to you what is science. Well, the dictionary's definition of science is that science is knowledge about the natural world that is based on facts learned through experiments and observation. I repeat, learned through experiments and observation. Cast your mind back to our cavemen forefathers bashing flints together and the spark flies, flat lands on some hay and bang, you caught fire. Well, they stamp it at you. Well, forget all about it. That's an example of an experiment without observation. Without science, we are nothing. Tonight, people of the floor, during my slot, I am going to give you a multitude of examples of why science is everything. My first example is food. The science of making food tasting good. For example, selective breeding, Joshua's dairy cows giving more and more milk, pigs, bacon tasting tastier and tastier, fruits and vegetables fatty and juicy for more nutrients, herb spices and basil, coriander grown artificially for our curries, ice cream frozen in specialised machines to make it cool longer, and ready-made food hermetically sealed to last longer. What would happen to the human race without tasty food? I don't know, but I'd probably starve. Science behind harnessing energy for humans. For example, drilling for oil, petrol for cars so that you can get to school, heating fuel for houses, and plastic for toys. Harnessing natural power from the sun and wind, solar power. I'm sure all of you know about solar energy. Wind turbines. If any of you have driven to Cornwall, you must have seen the wind farms. Dams and reservoirs. There are many examples of these all over the country. And my final point is nuclear energy, creating clean energy for homes, fighting climate change and preventing energy shortage. Imagine if the lights went off for 2 hours a day in school due to lack of supply. That used to happen. My third point is construction, the science behind building. For example, architecture, the Shard, the Gherkin, and the Burj Khalifa in Dubai. All examples of groundbreaking buildings. Bridges, the Jordan Bridge in San Francisco, the Severn Tall Bridge, which I haven't seen but I would like to, the bridge connecting the island of Skye to the Scottish mainland. Where would the world be without these wonderful designs? My fourth point is transport. The science behind transport, for example, on water, submarines, roll-on ferries, sun seekers, I like one of them, container ships, transporting goods around the world, in the air, hot air balloons, the Montgolfier brothers, first scientists to go up, aeroplanes, the Wright brothers, first scientists to fly a plane, helicopters, Leonardo da Vinci designed one in 1493, and rockets. Well, you can ask NASA about that, but I'm not quite sure. On land, cars and lorries, Bugatti racing bikes, and Formula 1 cars. And I bet a lot of you have a Segway. Without transport, we'd be stuck, literally. Astronomy. The science behind understanding the worlds beyond Earth. For example, 1969, the mission to the moon. Neil Armstrong's famous quote, "One small step for man, one giant leap for mankind." Proof that the moon isn't made of cheese. ISS, International Space Station. The first colony of another planet. Humans living for years without the Earth produce. Can't you imagine how amazing that is? And more to come, the Cassini project. Understanding of Titan and the gas rings around Saturn. 13 years of circumnavigation. An unorganized crash in Saturn from 746 million miles away. Home science. the science behind luxuries we all enjoy at homes. For example, our fridge, keeping our food fresher for longer, our microwave, heating and destroying frosting food faster, double glazing, keeping us warmer in the winter, underfloor heating to keep our tootsies warm, hot water for our showers and baths. Where would we be without these everyday modern conveniences? Which leads me to my conclusion. But, well, I would have run out of time, but it was a bit short. So I think you'll all agree that science does not do more harm than good. Thank you for listening.
Thank you very much, Ivan. Our next speaker is Mr. Felix Clinton.
Okay, I've got a question for you. How many of you have got an iPhone, iPad, tablet that you like to play with? Yeah? Pretty much all of you, right? And what would you do if I took it away from you? Like Zach said, you probably wouldn't be that happy. Think about it. But 2.3 million years ago, man was happier, walking around wearing practically nothing and shouting some rubbish that we can't even dare to translate than man has ever been before. They had no phones. They had nothing. All they did was eat, sleep, hunt, and then maybe eat some more. All those marvelous inventions that you learn about in history, they're great, but they haven't made man happy over the years. Okay, I've got another question for you. How many of you wanted Trump to win the presidential election? Other than a few. Don't worry, I won't tell Mrs. Clinton. This may be because the Russians hacked the voting system, which means they fiddled with the system to get what they wanted, which in this case was to get Trump president for political reasons. This could lead to a possible nuclear war with North Korea or worse. Hacking hasn't done us any good. The National Health Service was hacked by some anonymous hackers recently. This was a huge blow to the UK, as the sum of money that their ransom was enormous. Think of hacking like a game of chess. You're constantly trying to outweigh your opponent. Both sides are very clever, but often the bad guys win. And when the bad guys win, bad things can happen. Hacking can also rob banks, hack into other people's social media accounts, and hack into emails, and other terrible things. Illegal drugs. I hope you'll agree with me that illegal drugs don't do us any good. They can often lead to fatal outcomes or damage people's lives permanently. Even though 250,000 people a year die due to illegal drugs, still 200 million people take or use these substances. Why? Because they're addicted to them. Their body gets used to them, and now they rely on them. They're incredibly harmful, and are often the cause of cancer. Did you know cancer will cause another 7.6 million deaths this year? Here's a bit of geography for you, Mr. Marshall. Illegal drugs can often erode your lungs and other nasty things. It is due to science that there are illegal drugs. It is due to science that you can grow illegal drugs. It is due to science that you can smoke illegal drugs. You name it, it's due to science. I've made all these points criticising science, illegal drugs, hacking, and I'm sure my teammates will make plenty of other excellent points. But science has certainly done a fair amount of good. But has science done more good than harm? I don't think so. Even the great scientist Albert Einstein said this: imagination is more important than knowledge. Knowledge is limited. Imagination encircles the world.
Einstein against science is a pretty interesting development. So now what we're going to hear from Miss Juliana Grover.
Imagine life without phones or even cars and planes with no electricity. Without science, you would still live in caves. Well, not exactly caves, but tiny, unstable houses. Without a fridge, flushing toilet, or a microwave. Not to mention TVs and computers. So can you see how important science is to us? Science can do some harm, but it does much more good. Pollution, for example. People make electric cars to stop pollution. They build filters in oceans. They can now make electricity without burning fossil fuels by using solar power, wind power, or water power. All of this is a result of science. Think about how many examples of technology you use. I'm sure all of you used a personal gadget before. If you have, think about not having it. I know Sasha will find that really difficult. How many of you have flown on an airplane before? Yes, Italy, France, Spain, America, many more. Imagine not experiencing the warm sand on a holiday, or the fresh breeze as you're skiing down a mountain. Scientists have made these holidays possible by creating amazing technologies. Let's have a brief tour through some of the most important innovations or changes in human history. Fire. Fire was a discovery in the early Stone Age, maybe 500,000 years ago. Why is this to do with science? Because people observed it, then they learned how to make it, then learned how to use it for cooking, for warmth, for light, and to protect themselves from wild animals. It was the most amazing step forward, a tremendous scientific breakthrough. The next scientific step in history is the innovation came with the wheel. 5,000 or 6,000 years ago. We know this thanks to the discovery of southern Poland, of the earliest known picture of a wheeled vehicle on a clay pot. Just imagine how many vehicles have been made and used in the last 6,000 years. Cars, bicycles, scooters, trains to take your parents to work, lorries to transport food and other goods around the country, and cars. Where would we be without cars? Of course, some transport pollutes the atmosphere, but the great thing about science is that it's developing the solutions to that problem. You see, science is not the problem. Science is the solution to our problem.
Now we have two more speakers, and then you'll get your chance, you the members of the floor, and first of those two, Miss Violette de Cerveris.
I am sure that everyone in this room has heard of global warming, which became a major problem in the last 50 years and is only getting worse. The temperature of the Earth is rising at nearly twice the rate it was 50 years ago. Every day, at least something reduces our amount of time until the end of the world. This is caused by fossil fuels in cars, factories, and electricity production. Juliana did say that science is trying to reduce the fossil fuels, but without science, we wouldn't have to solve these problems. The gas responsible for the most warming is carbon dioxide. Single-use plastics are a human addiction that must be reduced. Plastic pollution is not only impacting waters and marine life, but also the human food chain and our overall health. Air pollution causes 40,000 early deaths in the UK only every single year. Today, pollution from traffic is the biggest problem, with diesel vehicles the worst of all. Every year, more than 8 million tons of plastic are dumped into our oceans. 70% of the oxygen we breathe is produced by marine plants, and 97% of the Earth's water supply is contained in the ocean, so destroying these oceans affects people enormously. In 2010, 215 million metric tons of plastic found their way into the sea, and in 2007, 2.12 billion tons of waste was dumped in our planet's oceans. So, as you can see, science caused all this pollution. Conclusion, science does more harm than good. I will now move on to my next point, medicine. I do agree with the other side that science in this medicine has saved many lives and cured many illnesses, though it has also harmed humans immensely. Medicine is mostly drugs that, as well as curing something, destroy another. Some people easily get dangerously addicted to these and die because of the harm they do to your body. For example, even the great Elvis Presley died because of an overdose of medicine. And he's not the only one who has had this problem. All of this was introduced by science and resulted in many deaths around the whole world. All these drugs made by scientists can cause anxiety, mood swings, depression, and sleeping problems. 50% of all suicides are associated with alcohol and drug dependence, and at least 25% of alcoholics and drug addicts commit suicide. Over 70% of adolescent suicides may be complicated by science. Antibiotics are some of the most frequently used drugs in modern medicine, and today's doctors have a whole bunch of them. But they keep having to make more because the viruses get more dangerous. They evolve to outwit the drugs. Meanwhile, people get addicted. Having too many of these drugs can help enormously with creating bacteria that are much harder for your body to kill. The other side will surely disagree, but then, again, after all, the truth does hurt. So, let me just give you a little advice. Vote for the motion.
Speaker this evening, opposing the motion, Mr. Harry Thompson.
In a day without science, you wake up at what we would call 7 o'clock. However, with no science, there are no clocks. You're either woken up by the sun, a cock's crow, a bird cheeping, in short, anything but an alarm. You don't live in a house, so you don't wash or brush your teeth. You're now thirsty, so you go to a nearby stream, which is also where the wild animals drink. One sees you and is hungry. You can't light a fire because that requires science, so all you can do is run. Somehow you get away, however your feet are badly injured because you have no shoes. You can't use medicinal herbs to cure them because that requires science. So you walk because you have no car to the nearby community of humans who say a few words using no science at all. However, for the benefit of this story, your feet heal. You are now hungry and you can't cook anything because that requires science. So you look for some fruit or vegetables. However, it takes a while because most of the fruit is too high. You spend the rest of the day roaming around nature, cautious about everything that could go wrong. The sun sets and you take shelter in a cave or a nearby tree. You sleep, aware that you may not wake up. You could be eaten, bitten by a snake, stung by a venomous insect, or many of the other possibilities, which are all out of your control. So, did you like the day? I know from Felix's speech that most of you have a personal device. You use these most days, in lessons, at home, reading. These are all taken for granted, and life would be hard to live without them. Radiators, flushing toilets, medicine, and 911 calls. Science provides us with communication, whether it be emails, phones, FaceTime, or WhatsApp. This gives us instant knowledge on the internet, social media, newspapers, Wikipedia. 86% of 19 to 28-year-old Americans owned a phone in a survey in 2015, and 85% of Americans own a car. Machines massively speed up the production of clothes, shoes, and pretty much anything we can find in a shop. Without these, we would only have a tiny percentage of what we own now. In most cases, science is required to buy it, in card machines, online shopping, and Apple Pay. With no machines, everything would have to be handmade, which means more workers would be required, for longer hours and less pay. That means going into work when it's dark and leaving when it's dark, even in the summer. We would have much fewer possessions which are all handmade. Without science, there is no agriculture, which means we would have to eat raw meat and wild fruits and veg. Science gives us enormous amounts of food, and without it we would have a much smaller population. So, science provides us with devices, medicine, communication, internet, light bulbs, and much more. Harm can be caused using science, but it's not the science which is the problem, it's the people. Surely the benefits of science outdo the negatives.
So the rules go like this. If you wish to speak, you put your hand up, and I try to get down as many of us in the hall as possible. And when it's your turn, you're called upon to speak, and forgive me if I don't get your name, because I can't see very well from here. But if you're asked to speak, then you stand up when it's your turn, and you either ask a question, and it could be a question that you simply ask for anybody to pick up on later, or you might say, I'd like to ask the people on this side or that side, something or other. You might ask an individual, a particular speaker. Or if you don't wish to ask a question, you can make a point. You can say, well, I think something or other, and maybe give us a good reason why. Now, it's a complicated debate with many different aspects to it. And I would like to encourage you to think, first of all, about one of the many topics they've mentioned, and that is the question of pollution. Can we think about pollution? Because one side has argued that that is a reason why science has done more harm. But the other side has argued that science is finding the answers. So have a little think. Which way do you think the argument goes on pollution? Is there anybody who'd like to open up the debate in that with Richard?
This is for the forward.
Again, nice to have.
So you said that science is making more and more pollution. So do you think that science can't cure the problems of solution with pollution then?
Who would like to answer that? Captain to decide.
Well, we're not saying pollution. They're trying to say that science is creating an issue, creating a solution to the issue, but they're just creating a solution to the issue which science already caused.
So you say that science caused the problem in the first place. It's a bit late to be sitting around dealing with solutions. Sasha, mind the camera, just stand up. Up ahead.
This is for the 4 team. Amy, you were talking about, I can't remember what it's called, but about the babies having mental disease and things from whatever the thing's called. But I don't think very many people do have that, because I'm pretty sure Maddie's one herself and she's pretty normal.
We're talking about genetic engineering and suggesting that Imogen said that some babies might be born with various complications that could cause serious trouble. You say there wouldn't be very many of those.
First of all, Maddie was genetically engineered, and secondly, well, a small percent do, but not a lot of genetic engineering happens, so...
Okay. Thank you. Yes, Matt.
For the 14, you guys said that like phones and sort of like drugs, and then you get addicted to them, but in the end you use them too.
So try that one again. You say that everybody needs to use drugs?
No, but they said that like, phones are sort of bad for you, but without science you guys wouldn't have phones. Like you couldn't use them.
Okay, so what do you think of that? Without science you wouldn't have phones. Who's going to answer?
People lived very happily for millions of years without phones. Like, imagine if I never mentioned a cake to you. You never miss it. That's just like having fun.
If you don't have something, you don't miss it. Interesting. Yes?
You said that science does more harm with pollution. This is before. But surely humans cause more pollution.
So you're saying it's humans. So this is the argument that this side put forward, that it's not science that causes the problem, they said, it's people. What do you think of that? Are they right?
Well, pollution wouldn't be caused if there wasn't science, because cars and factories and stuff, that's all science.
Okay, so we've got a slightly knotty problem here. You all need to wrestle with this one in your heads. Is it science or is it people, or do the two go automatically together? Yes, Joshua, that is, yeah?
If we do use this genetic engineering, this is for Imogen, surely the engineering could stop there being a chance of the human being mentally ill.
Okay, so you want the genetic engineering to remove the dangers, which I guess perhaps it could do if we're saying it can create babies in the way that somebody wants to design them. So what do you think
It
of that?
can't stop it being mentally ill, it can only stop it being physically ill.
Okay, maybe the body's so complicated we can't be sure, I don't know. Yes, Charles.
If science does more harm than good, then why do they teach in all the schools in the country?
Interesting. Who's going to answer that? If science, he says, does more harm than good, why do they teach it in the schools? Is Mr. Hardy causing a lot of trouble there? Lee, what do you think? You're going to answer Felix. Turn around, please. Yes, Felix.
The law is you have to learn science, like no matter what.
So we only teach it because the law says we have to?
Yeah.
That's the only reason. Interesting. Something different. Richard, you've had your hold up. Yes.
Harry, you said that we could only eat meat, like if we don't have it without science, we could only eat meat. Would you rather we eat sweets and become obese?
You can choose if you eat sweets, but without science, there'll be much more risk of disease because you wouldn't be able to cook the meats and you wouldn't have any of the foods that we have today.
Yes, so science gives us a greater range of foods from which to choose. Yes, I
Imogen, you said there should be no phones because of like cyberbullying and stuff, but if there will be no phones, we will not be able to contact our parents and so on. So, yeah, I never thought about those.
Okay. Is there anybody else on the team who wants to talk about phones? We did hear about cyberbullying and that sort of thing. So does anybody want to feel it? Did you see that one?
I said there's something called letter.
I forgot to remind you this rule, but in a debate, I can't throw this across to you yet, but if somebody asks you a question, then you can add in, after answering, you can add in a comment about the previous point. So let's have Flossie.
This is for you, Ira. You said that without science we are nothing, but if we didn't have science and you didn't have all of the technology, we wouldn't know any better. We wouldn't know that it existed.
Okay, well, I'm sure in one of the science topics, human reproduction is a science topic. So what's stopping it being science? And can I add something, Felix? Without science, there wouldn't be a pen. So without a pen, there would be no letter.
Interesting. Okay, my voice is
Felix, you said that if, drugs and medicines harm people, but surely if there were no drugs and medicines, you wouldn't be able to cure illnesses.
Okay, so we all have to remember that drugs means, in a way, it means two things, because there are drugs that the doctors give us to help us, and there are drugs that people take that we shouldn't take that cause harm. So what do we think of this? Yeah.
Well, in my speech, I did say that medicine and drugs, they do a lot of good, it's just that they did more harm.
Okay, so they're not, this is important, and I think most, perhaps all of the speakers here said this, they're not saying that science does no good. I think we need to remember that. They're saying, although it does good, it does more harm as well. More harm than good. Yes, Jane.
When man first discovered fire, there was no one to tell them how to make it. So surely with the other things that humans have made, they will surely find a way of making it without genetically making it. So maybe with medicine, they would have found a way to make it without using it.
So I think what you're saying is an interesting point, is that human progress using science is inevitable, it's bound to happen. We're saying, well, people were going to discover fire at some time. Maybe this is to do with the human brain. Yeah. So if science has to happen, or has to be used by humans because we are pretty much all of us pretty intelligent, well then the question is, have we caused more harm as a result? It's not a question of whether or not we should have science. Science is there, people are clever, people use science. The question is, do they use it, have they used it more for harm than for good? And
so you have the scientists do science, right? Makes sense. But you know, scientists are not trying to make harm on the world. It's some other people who are telling the scientists to do it. So I don't think a scientist studied science to make a bomb. I think someone told him to make a bomb.
What he's saying is that he doesn't want us to criticise scientists. He says that when we talk about bombs and that sort of thing, which we've heard mention of, that the people telling the scientists to do this are presumably governments, world leaders, something like that. He didn't answer the question, so there's no answer. Kevin?
Felix, you said that a lot of inventions have made us unhappier, but what about flying around the world and experiencing a lot of new information and expanding our knowledge? Hasn't this made us happier?
So you think that the benefits of science, the knowledge that we acquire, the experiences, these outweigh the disadvantages? Short answer?
I didn't say they didn't make us, but I didn't say they made us unhappy. I just said that over time they haven't made us like happier than we were without having it. Also, it causes pollution.
Okay. So it's a sort of question of balance. You, Tom?
This is for the 14. If science causes more harm, then wouldn't we be dead by now?
Wouldn't we be dead by now? If science causes more harm.
In here, that speech is saying that for the science and the day, the life of the earth is getting shortened, so
okay, perhaps we wouldn't be dead by now, here we all are, but maybe the life of the planet or the species is being reduced. We can't quite tell yet. I can't see who it is. Thomas? Yeah.
Surely if you got rid of cyberbullying, it would cause more face-to-face bullying.
Okay, that's a rhetorical question. You can pick that up later if you wish to. Ellen?
Back to introduction. If science helps with creating, but say we go back to nature when in the beginning, it was all about the survival of the fittest. So surely if there's more weak people and there's even more humans, and that's creating more pollution, so it is the human, but if you skip back, it's the science.
You reckon, yeah, it's a very well thought out point, well done. She reckons that you cannot really separate science and people. Now you disagree because you've suggested that it's not science causing problems, it's people. So when you get a chance, one of you needs to explain that to us again. Somebody right over in the corner. Josh, please. Yes.
This is for Uyama. On the car subject about cars making pollution and destroying the atmosphere, it was because science we had those cars, and if it weren't for science and if it weren't for those cars, we wouldn't need our scientists to make further technological advances in electric cars.
Right, interesting. So we've mentioned this before, in fact, but you're saying that it's all very well saying you have the solutions to the problems, but science has caused them in the first place. Matthew?
If things like the Hiroshima attack and like other things that have happened would the world get populated?
So you need to be a little careful. I don't think you mean bombs are a good thing because we don't want too many people. You don't quite mean that, do you? But it sort of came out that way. I think we'll move on from that one. Right, please, because we can't hear.
electronic to write your debate speeches, but surely if you're saying that you don't want phones, why do you use them?
We're not saying that science doesn't do some good because it does like phones, but it does more harm than
This is for the 14th. If we didn't have science, you couldn't have discovered like new foods and all these new worlds that these new places that we could have been to.
So foods and holidays, those are top of your list. Yeah? Science has produced those. Very much. Zach?
Going back to the centre, how would we be able to transport it without science?
So we have the pen, the letter, the answer to the phone problem. How are you going to transport your letter without the science bits?
They wouldn't go there in the first place. Like, they wouldn't know about them. They'd all be together. Like, you wouldn't send letters.
I still wouldn't be boarding in a different country from
I see this
As Villette will know, in France, there are actually like medicines are way too overused. Say if you're in a city, in every road there'll be about 3 chemists, and it's because like medicine companies that are sponsoring doctors to sell as many as they can. That's actually a problem. And second of all, I don't know who it was, but someone said that nuclear energy is helping pollution, like helping pollution be less.
Clean energy, they said. They described it as clean energy.
Oh,
Okay, so you're concerned about medicine, you're suggesting that medicine is not always for good, because some people who sell medicines are actually making a profit. And some of them are trying to sell more than are necessary. Perhaps people are using them when they shouldn't. So that is an argument not only against the illegal drugs that we've heard of that are so horrid, but also against good drugs being overused, in other words, in a bad way. This is the last part of the letter, yes?
If you didn't have social media, you would have to write a letter. And then I said if we didn't have science, we wouldn't have a pen. If we also didn't have science, we wouldn't have paper.
Okay, lots of things we won't have. But we will still have speech. Let's move on, yes. Hush, please. Hush, hush. Just wait for a moment. One, two.
We could learn, for example, new things, language, English.
Very good. So you're in favour of science because it provides us with new experiences, new things we can learn. I see.
Felix, if there would be no airplanes, then every single overseas person that you see in this room right now would not be here.
We're going to leave that statement. Thank you. We're leaving that letter question now. We're coming towards the end. First speakers, you need to be thinking of your summing up. Yes?
With science, I'm sure earlier the Egyptians, things like the Egyptians, they managed to make things like, well, paper. So I'm sure that they could make things that could keep us alive.
Okay, I think the fact is that right through history, so far as we can tell, people have been very intelligent, the species is intelligent, and they've been making things all along. What we've got to decide in the next few minutes is, on balance, even though both sides agree science has done lots and lots of good, both sides like phones, both sides like the benefits of medicine, and so on. Nevertheless, this side says that the bad things, the weapons, the drug addiction, and so on, hacking and so forth, pollution, they say that those things, on balance, make science more harmful than beneficial and good. They say science is better. Right, last couple of questions. Charles, what?
You said that the world was done, basically. It wasn't for science, we wouldn't be able to basically check out other planets, see if we could move to them instead of staying on Earth when it goes up.
That's an interesting point. It's not a question, but it's a very interesting point. He says that if the world's life is limited as a result of science, nevertheless, he says science is giving us an alternative, helping us explore the universe. Last question, Richard.
Just
total of 40. Let's say if everybody agrees with you that science does more harm, then how would you say to make us stop it since science is everywhere?
I think I'm going to answer for, because the motion doesn't say that they need to know how to stop it. They're simply stating that they think it's pity that science does more harm than good. So there are our questions, and our points from the floor. That was the floor debate, and lots of you have spoken. That is terrific. That's 30 of you, I think. Quick count, which I'm really excited by. Well done. Lots and lots of good points. So now I'm giving these two their last chance to think while I chat, and we're going to hear the summing up, very brief from both sides, only a sentence or two, and then you'll vote. So while they're just thinking it through, let me remind you how we vote. You stay in your seats, the volume stays at a whisper, and teachers let you come up a few at a time. You get a little yellow slip, that's your ballot paper. If you put it into one box or the other, the boxes will end up nearer to me. That one's nearer to do. You come up, you drop in your voting slip, and you go quietly back to your seat. And we try and do it quickly. So sit tight, everybody hush. Mr. Hughes is going to sum up the form of proposition. Everybody quiet, please. Sophie, hush.
Science has caused countless problems. Poison seas, 100,000 dead animals are going to be killed this year due to toxins alone. Robots, pollution, holes in the atmosphere, cyberbullying, terrorists, wars, nuclear bombs, and hacking. We're not saying we can live without science. Of course we couldn't. But right now, science has caused so much harm, and it's up to us, our generation, to solve it. And as Amos says, we're amazing, and they're losers.
Thank you very much. And Mr. to sum up for the opposition.
First of all, what the other team has failed to realise is that it's not science that is the problem. It is humans. Cyberbullying, wars, nuclear missiles, it's all humans. Drug overdoses, humans. All of the problems lead to humans, not science. Without science, we'd have no medicine, no technology, and science has saved millions of lives. Science can kill people, but many people would have died without it. Please vote against the motion.
Very well done, Pauline. You used to up to Gary and Colleen. While my colleagues very kindly count votes, let's have a think about one of the things. First of all, well done to all of you. Just sit. Okay. Well done to all of you, because it's a long time to be sitting still on a Friday evening when you're all tired at the end of the week, games and everything else, and the dark outside and everything jolly heavy. So you've conducted yourselves well. A bit laugh sometimes at the end. Pretty good. Second, well done for the listening, because you picked up on an awful lot of the things that they said. I think we had points from you, the floor, that covered nearly all of the main points that they made. It's a debate that ranges over many different topics, isn't it? From pollution to medicine and whatnot. So that's all very much to the good. I salute you. Well done. B-Forms, you, in a few weeks' time, we'll have, I forget the date just now, but you'll have a chance to debate with the C-Form as well in attendance. The A-Forms will be off doing some nice revision or something. You B-Forms will get the chance to volunteer to speak. A notice will go up on my door fairly soon, in the next few days, early next week, and it'll be on the virtual notice board. You don't have to run to get a chance to speak. It's not the first come, first served. Make sure we sort it out fairly. Everybody in the B-Form will have a chance, if they want, to put their name forward, and we'll arrive at 8 speakers in the same way. And then there'll be another chance next term as well, of course. So that's to look forward to. I hope we'll have lots of volunteers from Leith. Now I suspect we have a result. So, in no particular order, one side got 25 votes, the other side got 46 votes. Which you wish. There's a victory, not for the 40. Motion is defeated. That means this side won. Has made a very gallant proposition there. They put their points forward extremely boldly and confidently. And I say absolutely genuinely, I thought all 8 of our speakers were extremely good. So one huge round of applause.